Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. Joey Wahler is here. Joey, a little birdie tells me you had VIP status at the Brooklyn Net game last week.
Yeah, you know, at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, where the Nets are in their second year, I had not had a chance yet to go as a fan. And I don't actually go to many games as a fan.
Are you a Nets fan?
I'm a Knicks fan.
Okay.
I'm a Knicks fan. I'm actually from Brooklyn, but I'm a Knicks fan.
So who are they playing?
So they're playing Houston.
Okay.
No Dwight Howard. Took a little of the excitement out of it. But I had tickets through a friend of mine. They're season tickets, and they give you access, these particular ones, to what's called the Calvin Klein Club.
Nice.
Okay?
Wow.
You have sex with a guy there?
I was going to say, it's a total sham, Artie, because I can tell I looked high and low, and he was nowhere to be found. Okay?
You should have looked low.
Yeah. Lower.
Very low. You should have got high and looked low. God.
So, you know, if you have the really expensive season tickets, which these were, you get access to this club where when you walk through the tunnel.
I got a feeling, by the way, that the only jersey up in the Calvin Klein room is the Jason Collins jersey. Go ahead.
So, go into the Calvin Klein Club, which is right off the tunnel, off the court, where the players go out and on to the floor.
Right.
And so it's basically just this huge, a huge room with stations upon stations of free food and drink, just a complete orgy of free food.
Right.
Now, you know, you don't want to complain because it's free.
Right.
But I complained.
Why?
Well, the first complaint was they only give you these little teeny tiny, like hors d'oeuvre plates. So that when you go up to get food, you have to stand in a little line at each station, whether it's the carving station or whatever the case may be for the shrimp. And then by the time you get the food, you bring it back to your little table, you eat it. You only have room for like 3 shrimp.
Yeah.
You're going up and back. They're trying to discourage you,
I hear you.
you know, from taking too much food. But the big complaint with the food itself was there's all this food from all different kinds of food groups, and yet no dessert. This is before the game.
Yeah.
So we're with a couple of other people. And a couple of these other guys I was with, they kind of knew the drill because they've been to the Calvin Klein room a lot of times.
Right.
And so one of them says to me, "Oh no, they're going to bring dessert, you know, at halftime. That's a whole separate scenario."
Really? Okay. Well, it's not bad.
So my one friend, sensing that I was a little frustrated, my Jewish buddy Greg, sounding like a Jewish grandmother, he says, "Would it kill him to put a piece of cake out before the game?"
Oh, my God.
So then, here's the thing. Speaking of this dessert room, halftime comes. We make a dash for the room. And as it turns out, the room where they had the food before the game, that stays open the whole game. The food orgy there continues. Now comes the dessert room, which is a whole separate room beyond the first room.
Right.
Cupcakes, right? Cupcakes.
Sounds fantastic.
Cookies, candy for the kids. But the pièce de résistance is that off of that room, kid you not, they had, guys, literally a regulation-size half-court basketball court with a regulation height hoop just for these kids of season ticket holders to shoot around at halftime of the game.
Wow.
And you know what it reminded me of? I know you guys will remember this. Remember years ago on Saturday Night Live, the famous skit with Eddie Murphy where he's in makeup as a white guy,
right,
trying to live life behind the scenes as a white guy.
Yeah.
And there's one scene where he goes up to a newsstand to buy the paper and there's nobody around and he starts to pay for the paper and the guy...
You mean the bit Nick Cannon just wrote, according to some people on the show?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, people think that's a brand new bit.
Okay. Well, in any event, there's the one scene where he goes up to the newsstand to buy a paper and there's nobody around and the guy behind the counter, Eddie Murphy starts to offer money. You remember the guy goes, no, go ahead, it's free, it's free.
Right.
And what does Eddie Murphy say? He goes, suddenly I realized that white people, when black people aren't around, don't have to pay for the paper.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, suddenly I realized that the net game, that at halftime, when most of us poor schlubs are standing in a line 20 minutes waiting to take a leak, rich kids have a half-court basketball hoop where they can shoot around.
They just play, and then they just play with food.
With trays of desserts, yeah.
Food fight.
Rich people always have, there's always private clubs.
Right.
I know right now around this city, there's rich people doing things we'll never do. I'm telling you, they're like killing midgets and homeless people for just fun, their own enjoyment. That's what rich people do. You're right.
No one will ever
It's
find
scary,
out.
but you're saying it happens at Knick games.
At net games.
At Knick games.
At the net games.
I'm sure it happens at both. But Mike, see, you remember you thought that was like an original bit by Nick Cannon. It's never been done before. Remember you said that? It's an example of it being done 40 years ago.
Yeah,
and
the
way
Eddie
better.
Murphy, yeah, the Eddie
Nicky
Murphy
rocks.
was awesome.
I mean, how could you call yourself a comedian, Mike? How could you call yourself a comedian?
I'm a huge fan of Will Smith.
And so you think Nick Cannon rocks too, but you hate Pete Davidson?
No, I don't hate
Davidson?
Pete. You guys put those words
Well,
in my
Nick
mouth.
Cannon helped him get his start, right?
You just said the white face on a black guy bit is a brand new bit. You
I
said
didn't say it was, I never heard of it before. That's what I said. I didn't say it was brand new. I never heard.
how you of all people should know that you're a comedian.
I saw the Eddie Murphy thing.
It's
I mean,
been done 4,000 times before.
Well, maybe not recently.
Joey,
except for
thank you
that.
for that. Back after this. Hey, last few minutes, the Artie Lange Show. Joey Wahler from FAN is here. Jersey guy, let's talk about Rutgers and Star Ledger. What's going on?
And another Julie Herman foot in the mouth scenario.
Yeah, what happened here?
Yeah, we've talked about this on the show before, so it had been quiet on that front for a while. So the new AD at Rutgers, not that new anymore, about a year. I think she just passed the year anniversary. And she was involved in a couple of controversies that made some national headlines when she first came over. People thought she'd be fired or reprimanded. Rutgers kind of wrote it out, kept her. It came to light several days ago that while visiting a class at Rutgers, some sort of a journalism class, she was speaking, she claimed she thought off the cuff to a group of students, future journalists, and the subject of the New York Star Ledger came out. And that's the paper that you could argue has given her the hardest time, but it's unfair in a way because they cover her the most, period, good and bad.
Well, it's Jersey's paper.
It's Jersey's paper,
It's the paper.
and they cover Rutgers athletics, good, bad, and different more than anybody else. So the subject of the Star Ledger came up, and they've been having cuts, and there were rumors of future cuts that were imminent. And I guess one of the students, to kind of paraphrase here, one of the students had said to her, looks like there could be more cuts coming at the Star Ledger. They could be in trouble again. And in essence, what she said was, that would be great.
Right.
If people lose their jobs and the paper goes out of business even. And then, lo and behold, a couple of weeks or so later, just the other day, the Ledger lays off like 160 some odd people or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
So once again, it was just awful timing by her.
Yeah.
And, the kid who leaked this apparently taped it. Which is
welcome to modern day
that's the
journalism
age
on the
we
modern
live in.
world. Yeah, everything's on tape. It is though. I mean, listen, you're gonna get into a fight with the Star Ledger. Basically, you have the Ledger, you have the Asbury Park Press, a big deal. The Bergen Record's kind of a big deal, but that's it. I mean, the Ledger's the New York Times,
And that was the first paper to report that she'd been verbally abusive to her volleyball players while at Tennessee.
Yeah.
So she's got a bone to pick there.
Well, we'll see what happens, but you're right. The whole thing is timing, and everything's on tape nowadays. Real quick, we got about a minute and a half left. Your thought on Daniel Murphy with the Mets taking paternity leave?
Yeah, well, the one thought I have that you guys had, I guess, is that it was, blown completely out of proportion. Maybe a unique thought I have is, Artie, as a big Yankee fan, I know you've always talked about how gay all the Mets are. So when I heard Daniel Murphy's wife was pregnant, I wondered how this happened in the first place, actually. But
Well, listen, it could be it could have been a surrogate mom. That's true. You never know. He had to be with the surrogate. If he did this to be with the surrogate mother, very, very bad.
yeah, I also, when he's got such shaky hands around second base, my big concern is when they would hand him the baby that he would drop it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joey Wahler.
Thank you.
But Shetty, what are your thoughts on this?
Encore, Joey. I like this.
What?
I work super hard.
I work super hard. What do you think about Shetty's work ethic, Joe? I mean, I don't know if you listen to the show, but
Sure.
Shetty, you feel he's on top of his game, work ethic wise.
I don't know. Is this the top of the game for you, Mike, or is there still more ceiling left to come?
This is very close to the top of the ceiling, I think.
If this is,
I love it here, yeah.
no, he's saying you're not here.
It's a figure of
Not
speech.
the job. He's saying your work ethic.
No, I got other things I'm working on.
Sounds cryptic.
No, kind
Kinda like you're
Speaking in riddles.
Sounds cryptic, kind of like me fantasizing about being Scott Baio's junk earlier in the show.
Mike, you sound like a jerk off. Ace Frehley, thank you so much. Going to the Rock and Roll.
Ace Frehley.
Jim Birkenstadt wrote a great book. Joey Wahler, you're welcome here anytime, my
Thanks,
friend.
man. Really
Anytime.
appreciate it, guys.
And prepare more stuff next time.
Okay.
The Artie Lange Show, weeknights on Audience, only on DirecTV.